Hello, this is Marco Radо. I'm from Italy, and after the wonderful experience in July, I will be back in Moscow to teach a class. I will be teaching the 10-day Agape Quest, that is the fundamental workshop of applied physiology, and I will be in Moscow. I will be teaching this class in Moscow from September 30th to October 9th. So it will be 10 intensive days. This work, applied physiology, is a branch of kinesiology that has been created by Richard Atт. And just to name a few of his contributions to the field of kinesiology, some of his early research led to the concepts and techniques that became standards in the field of kinesiology, many of which were then adopted by other energy kinesiology modalities. So in this 10 days, I will teach many of the basic concepts or the fundamental concepts of applied physiology. And these concepts are basic, are fundamental for many other forms of kinesiology. So we can say that applied physiology is one of the main branches of kinesiology that you can find not only in Russia, but all around the world. The innovation introduced by applied physiology are, first of all, monitoring the muscles in both contraction and extension, and using spindle cells to identify 7 states of muscle stress, including the concept of over-facilitation, showing that a locked or a strong muscle did not necessarily mean it was in balance. But so when we talk about muscles, we will talk about 7 different possible muscle response. In this class, we will talk about the concept of powerful stress, that is a way to quantify the amount of stress related to an issue and hold it into pulse lock. So to have all this information to give to the body, to the system, information to balance, to work on. The most important aspect of this workshop will be the holographic model of applied physiology, drawing up the ancient philosophy of how everything relates to everything else and building that into an accessible system to pinpoint imbalances and direct healing modalities more specifically to those relationships. Then we will use as a correction tuning forks, a special set of tuning forks related to the 14 meridians of Chinese medicine. So there will be one tuning fork for each of the 14 meridians. And another thing, we will expand the concept of the 5 elements, the model of the 5 elements of traditional Chinese medicine, to the concept of 7 elements, where there will be 2 elements for each, 2 meridians for each of the 7 elements, so that all the 14 meridians will suit into one of the elements. And why it's important to study applied physiology? Because applied physiology is the base for many branches of kinesiology, many of them that are taught in Russia nowadays, not only, but many branches of today's kinesiology are derived from applied physiology. For example, LEAP, brain integration of Dr. Charles Krebs. It's directly related to applied physiology. The neuroenergetic kinesiology of Hugo Tobar has a lot of its roots into applied physiology. Then stress indicator point system, or SIPS, that also is related to a concept, the powers of stress that Richard Atт has created. Then kinergetics from Philip Rafferty, it's also strongly related to many of the applied physiology concepts. And then neuromeridian kinesthetic from Imtraud Gross-Lindman, that is not known in Russia probably, but it's very known in Germany. And this also is based a lot on, it comes from applied physiology. Then cyberkinetics of Alan Sales. It's related to the aspect of testing the muscle through the entire range of motion and the use of tuning forks. So this concept used in cyberkinetics also comes from applied physiology. And then, of course, integrative physiology that me and my wife, Monica, we have created. Both of us are applied physiologists. We are both applied physiology instructors. So everything we have done is strongly related to applied physiology. One of the most important theories or aspects that I will teach in this 10 days is the holographic theory. So what is a hologram? What is the holographic theory about? It's about holograms, that is a different way of making images. It's a tridimensional image. And to make this tridimensional image, we use two different laser beams. And once the laser, through the laser, an image can be stored into the holographic plate. And when we shine a holographic plate, we can have an image that is absolutely tridimensional. So we can create a tridimensional image through a hologram. What is very interesting is that in the same holographic plate, many information can be stored. So in one single structure, we can have many informations. And the most important characteristic of the hologram is that if the holographic plate is broken down into many different pieces, even the smallest piece is still able to reproduce the entire tridimensional image. So the whole information is stored in every single part of the holographic plate. So this is what makes the difference, the main difference with a normal image, because if I break down into two parts, a normal image, I will have two completely different images. And here, the image will be always stored even in the smallest part. And we can apply the holographic theory also to the human body, because many different aspects of the human body has a holographic characteristic. The examples of the holograms in the body are, for example, foot reflexology, because all the information of the body can be assessed by the foot, like from the hand reflexology, or, for example, face reflexology, or again, iridology. So all the information, all the function of all the different organs can be assessed directly by the iris, or also our teeth. Each tooth can correspond to a different meridian, or one of the basic or one of the fundamental ways to make a diagnosis in Chinese medicine is through the pulses. So this means that in each pulse, we can find the pattern, the functioning of all the different meridians. So the holographic theory is how in one single structure we can have the information of all the different structures. And is kinesiology a hologram, or how did applied physiology, how does applied physiology use the holographic theory? As to produce a holographic image, we need two different laser beams, an object laser beam and a reference laser beam. In the same way, kinesiology uses what we call an object meridian and a reference meridian. So instead of having a linear relationship, one muscle, one meridian, in applied physiology, we have a, let's say, a tridimensional way to approach the body, where one single meridian, one single muscle can give information of all the 14 meridians. So every single muscle, it's a hologram, and every single meridian is a hologram. And one of the ideas from which Richard Atт started to research to create applied physiology was the term kinesiology, because kinesiology means the study of movement. But when we test the muscle, normally in kinesiology, we do it in a very static way, because we test the muscle in its complete contraction. So what he did, it was starting to search if the muscle was changing its attitude going through the entire range of motion. So what we do now in applied physiology is that we test a muscle through its complete range of motion. So this means that we divide the muscle into 14 different positions, one for each of the 14 meridians. In this way, we will test the muscle from contraction to extension and from extension to contraction. And in this way, every single muscle can hold a hologram. For example, in this image that you can see, we will have an object meridian that is the heart, because the image refers to the subscapularis muscle, that is the heart muscle. But where you see the violet color, that is the position that refers to the kidney meridian. So we will have the heart-kidney hologram. And this is like using a GPS, because we have an latitude and longitude, and this gives us a very, very precise and specific aspect of the human being. Especially when we use the object meridian and then the reference meridian, and we add a modality, then we can be very, very specific, very, very precise in what we do. For example, we can have a holographic neurolymphatic treatment or a holographic neurovascular. In this image, we have the neurolymphatics for the object meridian, the heart, and the kidney meridian, the reference meridian, as the example I was using. But what is very interesting is that once we have object and reference, we can find many, many different aspects. For example, for each possible combination of one of the 14 meridian with any other of the 14 meridian, we can find flower essences. And in applied physiology, we use Bach flowers, we use Australian flowers, and we use desert alchemy. And then we have what is called the attitude hologram. So we do an emotional work, not only using the drops of the flower essence, but also talking about and dealing with the meaning of the flowers. So instead of using only emotions, we use the entire meaning of a flower essence to make an emotional balance. Then another very useful hologram is the acupuncture hologram. That means that every object meridian and reference to the meridian together can bring to one specific acupuncture point that is very, very effective to balance the body. And then we can use the teeth hologram or the tooth hologram, where we have all the different, where we can find which is the involved teeth or which is the part or the structure of the tooth that is involved. Then we use the Tibetan figure eights, that it's not typical only of applied physiology, but what Richard Atт did is to find one specific figure eight for each of the 14 meridians. So we have 14 primary figure eights, and we use them usually on the body, or we refer to balance, or we can balance the figure eights working on specific acupuncture points of the body. Then another important aspect of applied physiology is the use of tuning forks. As I said, in applied physiology, we have one set of tuning forks with 14 tuning forks, one for each of the 14 meridians. So if I use the heart tuning fork and the kidney tuning fork, I can produce the frequency, the vibration that together will affect my muscle, my meridian, my thoughts, my acupuncture point, so I can apply this sound, this vibration, this frequency to any other hologram of the body. And not only we will work with these techniques, but during this 10 days, I will talk about the foot reflexology, we will see the hand reflexology, the ear reflexology. We will use a technique called the AcuTouch, where we use a specific stimulation on a specific area. And we will work on genealogy. So each coordinate will bring us to a specific family member of our family genealogy. And we also will work with colors, and we use a technique called color relationship, where we will use two colors at the same time. And this often matches also with the two tuning forks. So it's sound and light together. So this is a brief presentation of what I will teach in this 10 days. So I hope to see you in Moscow. As I said, I will be teaching in Moscow from September 30th to October 9th. This is a very intense class, 10 days, where you can learn a lot of different information, the basic information for many other modalities. So it's a very great experience to take this class. So hope to see you at the class. Bye-bye.